This day at least, Dr. Vonnegut isn't clear at all about what identifying characteristics are present in an ADHD child.
I think the part of the problem is the profession keeps changing the diagnosis. We have DSM-4, the latest thing, but we have no guarantee that DSM-5 won't give us yet another diagnosis. But certainly, I think we have the feeling, again, that's not very satisfying, and I'm sure somebody else on this panel should have and could have done a better job than me with this question, so I'll stop talking now.
Anybody on the panel want to?
When the talking stopped, however, it became painfully evident that the esteemed proponents of ADHD were incapable of providing a cogent definition of this mysterious condition.
Okay, Brooke.
Brooke Reynolds, meanwhile, was among the first of her generation to be prescribed Ritalin. First given the drug at age 5, she was told by a neurologist that she suffered from attention deficit disorder. Like millions of other parents, the Reynolds family followed the advice of their doctor and gave their youngest daughter what became the first designer drug for a new era of children. They did so unaware of the growing public debate, unaware that the DEA and others were voicing concern about the long-term safety of methylphenidate.
My son died as a result of Ritalin. How many deaths need to occur before the FDA is convinced that this drug is not safe, and the American people are tired of being guinea pigs because of the pharmaceutical companies' need for profit?
Many in academia did their best to sound the alarm about stimulant therapy as well. Barry Turner is a lecturer in law, specializing in medical law and medical ethics at Lincoln University and Leeds Law School in England. What he discovered while researching the science behind ADHD startled him.
What I found when I was investigating issues to do with both personality disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder was that there was a fundamental lack of scientific credibility. The materials generated were largely anecdotal. Most of the studies which purport to be scientific are spectacularly flawed, statistically and in content.
How so?
In particular, the most famous of the ADHD studies by Castellanos, where the control group is of a different age to the group that were being examined. This was a study which concluded that children with ADHD had smaller brains than a normal group. It transpired that the control group was 2 to 3 years older than the research group, and that the research group were in large part already medicated, and no account had been taken for the fact that the medication at the time is well known to cause brain atrophy. So I was not at all impressed that that research had been conducted correctly, scientifically, and a good number of papers have been written since confirming that.
When you say that it's well known to cause brain atrophy, well known by whom and in what studies?
It's well known in pharmacological studies. The drug is a psychostimulant, and psychostimulants cause brain atrophy.
So Ritalin, you say?
Ritalin, yes, and any other psychostimulant for that matter, not confined only to Ritalin.
This fact was raised at the infamous 1998 conference on ADHD, when neurologist Fred Bauman strolled to the microphone.
Dr. Swanson, why did you not mention that virtually all of the ADHD subjects in the neuroimaging studies have been on chronic stimulant therapy, and that this is the likely cause of their brain atrophy?
Well, that's a hypothesis. I don't know the exact numbers of how many were or were not on medication, and as I indicated, I understand that as a critical issue. And in fact, I'm planning a study to investigate that. Haven't yet done it.
And the reason I asked this question is that I was familiar with all of these studies, and I knew that all of the ADHD subjects had been on long-term amphetamine methylphenidate treatment, and that was the only physical factor involved in the situation.
Oregon State University looked at every possible long-term study they could find, over 2,000 studies. You know what they concluded? There's no good quality evidence that these drugs improve the lives of these kids, make them better students or whatever. Now think about that. We've got all these negatives with these drugs, including, for example, physical problems, cardiology problems. And then you even see things like shrinkage of brain, you see metabolic disorders showing up, diabetes, you know. Many kids suffer a psychotic episode placed on methylphenidate, which is Ritalin. There's a reason for that, it's well known.
I began to hear stories of children on these drugs dying. I began to hear stories of children on these drugs becoming drug addicted, of there being strokes and heart attacks in young children.
They go on methylphenidate, they suffer a psychotic episode, next thing you know they're labeled bipolar, then they're put on an antipsychotic drug, and now they're on a path to mental disability for life. Why? Because they fidgeted in school? We're going to end up here on an antipsychotic drug? Is that a good system?
We are not allowing children to mature. We are drugging them and arresting their psychological and their social development by ADHD, ADD, and bipolar drugging. It's an absolute damnable sin.
We don't even have the science, after 2,000 studies, that's saying it's improving them in school over the long term, academically. So where's the benefit? The benefit, according to the Oregon State University, is not there.
It would appear then that we have allowed the case for ADHD to be built on the shifting sands of adulterated science. Years later, the sleight of hand persists, and the number of diagnoses grow.
I think the use of stimulant medication and antidepressants in children is just so out of control. I mean, our kids want to run around, they want to have fun, they don't want to pay attention all the time, and what we've done is we've created boxes, square boxes that we want to put these round holes into, and they just don't fit. I think we've just got the wrong attitude here. I mean, kids are kids, and my God, you know, the most